Peace, peace, happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future, not going too far in the past. Right now, uh, you know, dealing with my own growth, and seeing how our growth in general, we be dealing with a lot of reoccurring situations. A lot of situations that may have been energies we had to deal with in the past life and we didn't, and it's coming back up. But lately, I've been getting the vibe of how how. So I basically got this the Allen Iverson. I ain't even say Allen Iverson, but the Shaq. It's more pointing to Shaq. I don't know if y'all familiar with sports, but that syndrome of where when you're blessed with gifts, you tend to not be as tenacious. Matter of fact, yeah, that definitely don't apply to AI. And that's you tend to be, because matter of fact, if everybody took that sound bite from him about practice, they would believe that he wasn't practicing. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, some of us have abilities, and with those great abilities, some of us kind of see it as a little excuse to be a little more lazy in essence. Like some of us may see, say for instance, like the power to move things around. Like of course we're gonna be using it in a beneficial manner, but we also use that to, instead of getting up to go get something out of the kitchen, we'll use our psychokinesis to move it to us. You know what I'm saying? But it's like a level of using your abilities in a manner that's detrimental to your growth on a responsible level, and on a level of doing what you came to do in essence, or what you should be doing. And I think about, like, I caught the download of how with the way with my own spiritual growth, seeing how seeing into the future could make you a little lazy in essence. And that's the whole reason why, as beings, a lot of us be crying, oh, I want to know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen and this and that. But again, it's like, wanting to really, really watch a movie, and you don't want nobody to tell you about that movie, but then somebody tell you about that movie, you like, fuck, well, I don't even want to watch it no more. Like, what's the point even watching it? And now, it's going to be different when I watch it now, you know what I'm saying? Even if I was to watch it, it's not going to have the same type of excitement, that was going to have when I didn't know what was going to happen in the movie. But, with the seeing into the future, making me lazy, like, say, for instance, where peeking into the future, knowing that I'm gonna be, say for instance, knowing that I'm gonna be successful, knowing that I'm gonna make things happen, but it could, the egoic mind could find its way to, like, oh shit, let me hide up in this, this energy right here, so where they, where this person is feeling like, all right, I could be lazy about my spiritual growth. The ego will slide into that place, and then it'll become something where you're being lazy on a level that's detrimental to your growth. Like, of course, like, say for instance, where in the future, knowing that, all right, I am successful, man. I done seen the visions of me, cause say for instance, just like as a little kid, seeing that I knew I was gonna be where I'm at, you know what I'm saying, in some way, form, or fashion. But again, and I'm just trying to, allow for y'all to peep the perspective of how, looking into the future, could make you a little lazy about what you're doing in your now, Because say, for instance, if you realize for a fact that, all your premonitions always been pretty true, and you see yourself as that, successful person, then you may fall back off of, how strong you work to be great. It's like, all right. And I use the Shaq analogy because of his natural size and ability, towards the end of his career, he wasn't constantly working on himself, well, let me make sure my knees healthy, this and that, uh, And it's not no 3D personal thing to get on shape. Just again, just real analogy for the sake of this situation. But again, he got to a place where he just started like, well, shit, I got this extreme. I'm so tall and I'm so big. I take advantage of my opponent anyway. I don't need to, do the extra exercise or the extra, this or not even say extra. Just, I don't need to continuously keep up my body. I got this natural ability. And again, I see where, that natural ability for myself to be, very clairvoyant, and also I got some peaks, deep into certain realms dealing with DMT trips. But, I realized how that, again, that could hinder your actions in this moment, when you know a little bit too much about the future in essence. And that's one of my past life mistakes. Matter of fact, a mistake I've made during a conscious shift, where basically, in another lifetime during the conscious shift was the type of soul like, oh, I got it, I know what this shift about, basically how, that arrogance and smartness too, like that arrogant intellect, like, oh, I got this, again, within this lifetime and past lives, I've been having to deal with that energy, oh man, I got this. Oh man, I'll be able to drink 5 cups of coffee and still, ascend. In which, that's the thing too. Get to, of course, we get to a place where, you're so detached, in essence, nothing would really stop you from ascending. But again, like me having that vibe of, like testing, like really testing that line to a point where, I done missed out on an ascension before from, not taking it, again, where allowing my skill set to make me too big head about, too big headish in essence, too arrogant, and it allowed for me to miss that window. But, just seeing it within your own life, reoccurring situations, it's something that, like, oh man, I'm always losing money, when I go to pay a bill, but, I'm losing it because I was holding on to the money too long, it's all like, it's a certain situation that's pointing you to, like, well, it seemed like, oh, this always, again, something bad happening, or this negative situation always happening to me, where it's always happening because the universe is, again, trying to make you aware of how you always allow this situation to hinder you in a lot of situations, and how you might want to fix it, because ultimately, if you don't fix it, it's what's going to hinder you right now from ascending. That's why we go through the dark nights of the soul, and why we going through these situations where we feel like, oh, the universe being negative towards me or bad. Why all these bad things? That's because the universe care about you a lot to say, hey, we about to be shifting, into this higher dimension. Like, we about to have graduation. We want to make sure you got your cap and gown and got your shit together. You done came to graduation rehearsal and know the the graduating class song and the motto. You know how the ceremony gonna be. You know what I'm saying? So when it gets to that moment, you're not like, oh, I forgot my graduation suit. I don't know where to stand up at and line up at. You know what I'm saying? It's like going through that right now. So you don't have to be last minute like, oh wait, let me. It's like right now. Because matter of fact, last few years from 90s, 2000s, of course we were a little more in the sleep stage, but we should have been getting it together all through that time. Because matter of fact, as a little kid, I always had a lot of these thoughts going through my mind, of like how fucked up, like the racism and oppression of, and like realizing that like politics wasn't really doing shit. Like I've been, but I didn't step out into that until now. So again, but seeing though that I could have been somebody to step into it, of course not as a child, but which I could have, but again, stuff wasn't I came down into a family and a situation that wasn't for that. I chose a different situation, but again. But also another thing too, I realized for myself is dealing with, you know, again that vibe of, my magic could make up for a type of energy. You know what I'm saying? Like that energy is what done hindered me in past spiritual growths. You know what I'm saying? Or past lifetimes. In times of ascension. You know, because I thought about like me placing a little, which it ain't like no super. Let me place some importance on the way I present myself, but starting to see like, all right, let me start paying attention to that area again, like not being this person that's just like, oh, my magic's so great, I could make a video like with Ace Ventura, Ace Ventura grabbing his butt cheeks, making his ass talk, like I could make a fucking video, fucking, you know what I'm saying, with some puppets and still, and of course I could, get people to understand stuff, you know, in essence, no matter how I present it, but would be more better, especially like dealing with spiritual warfare. I don't want to go on to you go onto the battlefield and like, let me show y'all how I could shoot backwards 5 times and then shoot towards the enemy. Like, nah, just be great at what you do and show us how you could just shoot toward them. Like, don't play around in that sense. Like take advantage, of your abilities instead of using them to have excuse to be lazy and to show off or to uh, not be our greatest version. Because it's something that I look back at for myself and say, all right, no regrets, but seeing like where I did kind of want to have my platform to be a little bit to, pull people in a little more, because of realizing, like the words I speak on, it's the type of information that would be appreciated on a higher level, but because I got this way of presenting myself of being so, and which I know again though, for me in my journey, it's gonna work out, the way it works out, you know what I'm saying? Like my magic ability will in essence pull people to, seeing my channel. But, just looking at it in, hindsight. And again, everything happens for a reason, but starting off, just something that I look back at and allowing for me to be truthful in that moment and saying, well, you know what, I probably do look back at the situation of, I could have presented things a little more, in a way that, would be a little more eye popping and pulling people in. But again, everything happens for a reason. I know I didn't do it for a reason too, you know what I'm saying? So again, there's no regrets, but just, just me, going within myself. Because again, that's one thing, when you going within, is not being scared to like check yourself, like like let me see if I'm not fucking up in this area, or let me see, compared to like, oh, I'm not even gonna check myself because I know I'm doing good. In most cases, that's the ego talking and trying to keep you from doing that internal self-help, of being vulnerable and saying, am I fucking up in this area, let me check, you know what I'm saying? Because the way things stay the same is by not being vulnerable enough to check yourself. Were you too prideful and too in your ego too, ask yourself, well, am I doing it? Like, am I drinking too much, or am I, dealing with people that's hindering my spiritual growth too much, Because the ego be in denial, like, oh, no, you doing good. I know better. This, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to get you to be in denial about checking those situations. But, one of the morals to this, the morals to the story. You know, again, just not letting your abilities, you know, hinder you. Like, you know, because sometimes, again, that person that's the natural, you know, the natural at doing things. You know, that person is a natural at hitting the shot, you know, playing basketball. So, you know, that person might feel, well, shit, I could be lazy, you know, because I'm good like a motherfucker hitting my shots. Why I gotta go, you know? And again, to a certain extent, you know, you may not have to work yourself as hard as the next person. Yeah, of course, but you still wanna, you know, make sure you're keeping up with your skill set. You know, not getting too lazy and not getting, you know, to a place where again you're letting your like you developing a certain egotistical pride within your spiritual abilities, you know, and that could hinder you, you know. Matter of fact, say for instance another one too that I see myself deal with, you know, because I'm, you know, very intuitive, you know, to the place of being, you know, what some people call psychic in essence, you know. Sometimes my ego will try to pop out in the vibe of, you know, throwing me off balance, where since I have such a strong, you know, energy to pick up, a strong ability to pick up on energies and, you know, have that psychic ability, you know, the egoic mind would be like, well, shit, we're not dealing with logic, you know, like, to hell with logic, to hell with reading, you know, I'm so good at being psychic, you know, fuck reading, you know. And I remember, like, you know, being you know, within that vibe, of course, you know, shout out to higher self for always just being there, because like I would speak to that to a certain extent, but I always realize, you know, to never just go off the deep end and be like, yeah, and that's the way, you know. It's like, nah, I would always say it in a manner like, hey, I tend to lean more towards, you know, my intuitive side, more towards my right brain, but again, it would what's funny is, as much as I say that, you know, the logic shows in my videos as well, you know, of me sitting down with my little tablets and showing information. You know, that takes logic to sit down and listen to a lecture and, you know, write out little information, stuff like that. So, you know, it wasn't that I was, you know, being completely out of balance, you know, or promoting imbalance, but just speaking on, you know, the balance that I like, you know, because again, everything not going to be 50-50, you know, 50% intuition, 50% logic for everybody across the board. When that means we're going to be back in a situation where everybody walking around acting the same, talking the same, looking the same, everything just the same. Like, what was the point of experience? We came down here, you know, on some different experience. Like, we passing through this earthly plane, you know, visiting this little, you know, I guess it could be like a little Las Vegas of a physical, you know, physical experience. In essence, we passing through this little Las Vegas, but, you know, we not staying here, and we are beings that enjoy the diversity of different dimensions and different, you know, and again, at the same time, uh, feeling and embracing our interconnectedness and oneness to the whole universe as well. But, you know, enjoying, you know, that difference in vibration in essence. But again, you know, checking down our little, you know, karmic energies, you know, realizing what things source are, you know, our higher self playing a certain little loop, you know, a little learning loop, I like to call them, you know, the little learning loops that continuously, like, you always getting a flat tire, or you always, you know, like, you know, something is always happening to you that's trying to point out that, hey, you know, you fucking up in this area. You know, you need to realize it so you could fix it. You know what I'm saying? That's why you keep going through something in a certain area. Oh, I never can keep a boyfriend. Men are all dogs, or women are all female dogs. You know, well, that's because you're giving off a vibration. Matter of fact, you might have a predisposed position of, like, all men are dogs or all women are dogs. Like, you know, then that's creating your situation. The universe is trying to show you like, well, you know, maybe your negativity and pessimism towards the situation is what's continuously creating it. So we're gonna continuously create the situation for you until you realize like it's you that's constantly creating it, and not this dog ass men or these dog ass women and this. You know, it's like, nah. You know, start to realize, you know, as you attracting that energy, you know, some dog ass energy in you, you know, that's attracting that dog ass energy externally. You know. That's basically it. Just want to share that again. You know, just not letting your abilities, you know, being a natural at what you do, you know, being great at what you do and naturally being naturally great at it, you know, not letting that be a hindrance, you know, not letting our psychic abilities, you know, be a hindrance to our now, because some of us can peek a little bit further into, you know, those realms than others, you know, whether it's due to, you know, certain DNA or, you know, a certain level of work that has been done already on the physical plane, whatever. But, you know, peeking into them realms, as a matter of fact, like, you know, I have the paradoxical blessing of getting to see what it felt like or what it feels like to be source, you know, but then seeing all that and then having to still be in a human body, because that's part of the disconnect in my growth as well, is seeing that oneness, seeing that pure consciousness, and you know, and seeing, you know, what's like basically what's, you know, like in essence why we're here, what's going on, seeing all that, but then still having to have that ability to kind of, you know, put that in a blind spot, you know, and exist on a level as if I didn't, you know, see or get that information, you know, but which that's what I asked for, you know, in this lifetime. I want to, you know, find out what it's like to be source and find it out within a human body, you know, and you know, I got that experience, you know. So again, when people go to like, you know, looking at other people's experiences, you know, like again, we should be aware that we all uniquely, you know, going through different levels of growth and dealing with different situations. So as much as there is you know, a general blueprint to spiritual growth in essence, you know, it's a blueprint that's uniquely suited for each you know, individual soul spark. You know, we all different, and it won't look the same for all of us, and that's where we kind of get mixed up at. We're looking at it, we're looking for it to be a uniform way of spiritual growth across the board for everybody. Again, we didn't come down here for that, so why would you expect spiritual growth to, you know, look the same across the board? You know, let me see what's going on over here with so and so. Again, ain't nothing wrong with us, you know, learning from each other's experiences and information, stuff like that. But again, not looking at it in a vibe of like, you know, oh, my growth should be looking like that person growth's looking, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you know, that's where we throw ourselves off. You know, allowing them parasites to come on board. But that's basically it, y'all. You know, again, just not letting your spiritual gifts and abilities, uh, you know, take you to an egotistical place of hindering your soul ascension and spiritual growth. You know, again, as a person like that, hi, my name's such and such, and I'm an alcoholic. Well, you know, I'm that person that dealt with it in past lives and see it reoccurring right now, and speaking on it to raise that awareness, you know, like again, me being vulnerable, speaking on these situations, it helped people to realize, all right, I might have been going through that myself, so I know that, you know, that's possibly what I'm dealing with too, so I could, you know how to fix it now, you know what I'm saying? That's what, that's the beneficial aspect of, different, different beings sharing information on YouTube, sharing our experiences, you know, whenever it's not taken out of the context of, of a shared experience, like whenever though it's looked at as the context, so this is my guru, and I gotta map out my spiritual growth exactly how universal frequencies say, then that's when you're throwing yourself off, you're hindering your growth. It's about growing your own inner intelligence, strengthening your own intuition and guidance so that you won't have to depend heavily on external aspects. Whenever you tapped into your inner source and inner self, that cell phone become less of something you have to use. I ain't gotta go look at my cell phone to see the weather and know when I got a hunch, let me grab the umbrella. Or when I got the vibe of, hey, it may be raining the next 3 days, or it may be getting cold, Hey, you feel that warm air? That must mean a cold front coming through, or some rain coming with a cold. You know what I'm saying? It's like you no longer need, all these external, uh, technologies, because again, we want to be dealing with the internal technology, which is us. You know what I'm saying? Wearing crystals, is the perfection of the molecular structure of crystals. You know, on a quantum level, the cells in our body is connecting with that perfection in that molecular structure of these crystals, and it's mimicking just like the dis-ease of the body. In the book Cyclomancer, how they talk about how syphilis, the bacteria or quote unquote virus, that it wasn't people necessarily, you know, actually catching the disease, and more so that we, in essence, not even really capable of catching a disease, but more so that when we have what some people call a dis-ease in the body, that it's more of our cells in our body mimicking that bacteria or virus, and not the actual virus or bacteria affecting us. It's more of a mental situation, going on right there. And I don't recall where I was with that tangent. I know I went to talk about cyclomancy, uh, dealing with our visualizations. It'll come back to me. But again, just not letting our spiritual gifts and abilities, take us to a place of being, big-headed about it, feeling like, oh, because I'm so intuitive, let me not deal with no logic, let me not read any book. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, of course you, again, you want to, in essence, make sure you have, a lot of confirmations with information to really stand fullness in that, the truth of the situation, that intelligence, the intellect with the intuition, which is another word that starts with a G. Can't recall it, but but it's like the intellect or the logic mixed with the intuition. There's intelligence. But again, just not letting your ability of being, just a natural, being naturally great at what you do. Don't let that become something that your ego sees like that's a place I could hide it. You know what I'm saying? Be aware of that situation, So again, wait, what? I'm not gonna go back to that, but that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is a vibrative course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace, peace.